Yeah. So anyway, um, so welcome everyone to another. I keep on forgetting the name of this particular segment that I do. This is the OSR tabletop with myself, DM Bloodworth, and I am joined by Thom Wilson of Throw. Is it Throw I Games?
Just Throwy. Throwy's
Yeah,
fine.
Throwy Games. So
Yep.
Throwy Games, who is also the director or coordinator of ShireCon, and so I just want to give a little history that ShireCon. When I was looking through, because I was like, I know I've been to, this will be my third ShireCon coming up, and so when I look back at my tabletop events, and you can go back several years. Unfortunately, you can't look at what games you played in, and who you played with several years back. They actually cut that off about 6 months or so. But ShireCon was my first in-person visit, in-person convention since Gen Con 1985.
Wow.
So that was really my first. All right, let's get back into this thing. And even though I re-entered the hobby of tabletop role-playing games around 2015, 2016, my first convention wasn't until 2021. Now, obviously, I did the virtual conventions that everyone was pretty much forced to do for those 2 years of shutdowns and everything. But yeah, ShireCon was my first in-person convention. I believe it was roughly like 80 or 90 people, and it was just perfect for getting back into that kind of a play style. And it's certainly part of my every year rotation now. Though I'll never miss one. Um, and so that's another thing that I wanted to impress upon everybody is that small cons, and this is my big push, is that small cons, at least in my opinion, is really the essence of tabletop role playing. To me, it's like you can't get a better experience role playing games than at a small convention setting. So, but I'll let you, Thom. I'll let you introduce yourself and talk a little bit about yourself and the convention, and then your other stuff. Because I was going through drive through and I was like, my gosh, this guy has produced so much as well as on top of doing a convention. So I open the floor to you.
Yeah. So this is our 6th year of ShireCon. It's grown pretty slowly, which is kind of by design. We don't want it to be too big for the same reasons that folks like yourself and others love about the small con. It's like a big family. Everybody. Everybody's played together for years. It grows a little bit every year, but not too big. It's a 1.5 days. People have really asked about going to 2 full days or 3 days, and I just don't see that happening for this kind of con, at least not for a very long time. I like the sort of short, play a bunch of games, then go home and just and reminisce about the time you had.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, September 27th and 28th this year, we changed venues. So we're at a VFW this year, which is good because they're really great over there and they want to do everything they can to help us out. They've got a full mini restaurant that's got a ton of food offerings. They've got 2 bars on site so people can want to have some beer or, it's right there. So it's great. It's just a really good bunch of people running that facility, and they really want us there, and we're going to make a big donation obviously to them because they've opened up their doors to us when we had a little problem with schedule and venue from last year. So so 1.5 days September. It's great. It's you're getting the fall weather as well, and the same people come every year. We love it. We have about 100 and I think we have 106 badges so far. We always get around 20, 25 sort of the last month. So I expect our numbers to be 125. Last year we had a lot of walk-ups. I'm not sure if we'll get the same number of walk-ups this year, but 125 plus. I think we'll have this year.
Okay.
We're not getting a couple of the people that I was hoping to get this year because of schedule conflict, especially when I changed the date.
Right.
That hurt a little bit some people, but it opened it up for some other people. So I think it's a sort of a trade off numbers wise. We'll
Right.
miss some people for sure that come every year, but we got some people that usually can't make it because of that. So it works itself out, I guess.
Yeah.
We dialed it back a little bit this year. We went a little more conservative. Last year was our 5th year, so it was kind of a key year, that 5-year mark. So we like pulled out all the stops and did all this crazy stuff for swag and other stuff. This year we dialed back like we did in years, 1, 2, and 3 and 4. So a little bit more simple, a little bit more straightforward, but still more. But there's more games. There's an extra game slot. I think
Right.
it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to seeing people that I haven't seen. This year I did take a little bit of time off from the con circuit. I got my last holy grail item for my collection. It was very, very expensive, and I had to sort of put the brakes on some of my
Yeah. Right.
travel to cons because I spent a lot of money. So, but I will be back on the, starting
Yeah.
this fall and into next winter. I'm back in the rotation of going to all the cons I normally go to. So,
And what was your holy grail?
do you want to see it?
Yeah, I want to see it.
Hang on a second. It's right here.
Up the garden path.
Very rare, very expensive.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's a UK module for basic
Right.
D&D VX. Very hard to get. I got my hands on it. It was the last thing I've been looking for years.
Mhm.
It was nice to get it. And the money was put away for it, so it wasn't like I had to scrape,
Right.
but I kind of was using that money year after year to go to cons. So I said, all right,
Yeah.
well, I got the thing that I'm looking for, so now I'm going to back up. So
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, that's I think that's a really important thing, is to have your holy grail items, your jewels of your collection and such. And it's an important thing. I know it's hard for people outside of the outside of a hobby or whatever you happen to be like really involved with,
mhm.
and they just don't get it. And
Yep.
no fault of their own, but it's like,
No.
I have this conversation with my daughters, who are both nearly in their 20s. I mean, one's in their 20s and the other is 19. And I tell my 19-year-old all the time. I was like, listen, when I pass away, I was like, don't just take this stuff and throw it. She's like, no, it's all getting thrown out. I was like, no, you don't understand. I was like, you don't understand what it's worth. And she
Value.
was like, it's just, she was like, I don't understand why you have things on your bookshelf. And I was like, do you understand? There's a white box back there. She was like, what does that even mean? I don't care. I was like, there's, so they just, sometimes don't get it. My older brother is he's a gun collector, and he has a federal gun collector's license. So he had, sniper rifles from the, or rifles from the Spanish American War, and he has like, stuff that's serial number across the board, is like M1 carbine from, 1943, every matching serial number across the board. And he was like, my kids don't understand that,
No, they don't.
what that is actually worth and everything. So it's really important in your hobbies to, to have your crown jewels and your, the jewels of your, not crown jewels, that's important regardless of hobby, but it's important to have your, the real important things,
Yeah.
to
Well,
you.
I actually have a note in my will that says, what names to contact when you want to sell some of my stuff. That way people know
Yeah.
who to contact, because I've got
Yeah.
some good friends who would obviously help out family
Yeah.
in that situation to sort of get the best they could for them. So,
Yeah.
um, luckily my kids and my wife all know the value of the things, especially
Right.
after this last one I just bought.
Yeah.
They definitely know the value of
Yeah.
things.
And they know the value of that. Yeah.
So,
So getting on that point, actually, because I know that you do an auction at the at the con, or at least you
Yep.
did in the past,
Mhm.
and do you have other things as well? Like, do you have like consignment sales and auctions and um charity? Is it a charity auction as well, or
Well, so what we do is it's in year one we did like I think 6 silent auctions just to
okay,
see if people liked it, and they loved it. So each year we get bigger. And last year, I think we had nearly 80 items in the silent auction. And this
okay,
year we might not have as many this year because again, year five was a big year. I pulled out all the stops.
right,
Um, this year we're probably going to have closer to 60, I think.
hmm
And I'm going to be publishing the silent auction list by game block, in the coming weeks on the ShireCon page. But yeah, we've got some good things this year. That they all start either $1, $5, or $10, and then people just can put down whatever their bid is. At the start of the next game block, we pull those auctions,
hmm
and then they're final, and then we put out the new ones. So we try to do 12 to 15 per block. The
hmm
Friday, because we added the extra block on Friday, we're not going to do an auction in the first. We'll put the items out for the first block, but they
right,
won't be up till the end of the second block because I think the 1 o'clock slot's going to be not as popular as we hoped. I think we're probably going to get maybe probably a third,
hmm
less than half, probably
right,
attending the first block. So I don't want to put anything out there that people miss out on. So we'll go the first 2 blocks, and then we'll just keep
yeah.
going from there after. Then I do a raffle, which we
I
don't
was going
really,
to bring
we
that
don't,
up. Yeah, I was like,
yeah, we don't really can't call it a raffle. We call it a giveaway.
okay,
And basically everybody gets one ticket in their badge holder,
mhm,
and they can place that ticket in one of 5 different stacks of giveaways.
right,
That way you can kind of optimize the percentage of winning something.
right,
And then we do a grand finale at the end where everybody's ticket, including winners, will go in again and get the big stack. Almost
right.
everything that's in the raffle or the giveaway is donated.
Yes.
I put my own stuff in there too, just to thicken it up a little bit. But Frog God Games, North Texas, and a couple of very charitable attendees tend to donate a lot of product for us to give away or sell. Most of the stuff goes in the raffle though, or the giveaway. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's free, a lot of silent auctions. The number one comment I get, actually the number one comment I get is people love coming because like playing with family and friends all the time.
hmm
But the next comment I get is they always get good deals. Like Tencar got a Moldve box set for like $60 with dice
With
last
yeah.
year. So I mean that was actually my set. I had several sets that I was paring down, so I put
Okay.
that in there just for the heck of it.
Yeah.
Um, so we don't do consignments. We don't do consignments because I don't want to get into tracking people down about your item that didn't sell or whatever.
Right.
So it's all stuff that either comes out of my collection or is donated,
hmm
or acquisitions I get throughout the year. Because sometimes you buy a box of stuff from somebody and you want 2 things in it and the other 10 things you don't want. They go into ShireCon auction or in the raffle. So
I see.
people like the free stuff when there's a
Yeah.
lot of good
Well, of course.
good
Yeah.
deals and free stuff.
Yeah.
So
And when's the last time that anyone can submit items to be put into either the raffle or the silent auction?
that's a good question. Generally, we're accepting donations right there at the con. People
Okay.
bring them and they just donate
All
them. Now, what I tell people is I can't guarantee that your donated item will get into this year's convention. It
right.
might move to next year,
Right. Right.
because there's so much going on.
Right.
Um, but if it's a really nice item or something I think that'll fit really well, or it's early enough in the con, I'll try to sneak it in. Um, we also ask special guests to bring an item and vendors to bring an item to donate to the
hmm
grand prize in the raffle giveaway because we
Okay.
like to have everybody put their stuff in there for people. So it can be the smallest little thing. It can be It could be a D30, it could be a mini, it could be one of their books, it could be whatever you
Right.
want. Just so that we say, like, the grand prize came from all our special guests and vendors, so that's kind of a cool feel. And then last year, a young kid won one of the raffles and won the grand prize, and I think he had a stack
Yeah.
that was probably 3 feet tall of books. It was great.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I was there. I remember.
yeah.
I was like,
So I
wow.
mean, we've had a lot
Real
of
good. Yeah.
there's a lot of good donated items. People get some really, when you got 100 people there or 125 people and you've got 5 piles, your chances are pretty good if you're sort of happy with all the different piles. I mean, there's some piles that are maybe games that you don't care about, so
Right.
maybe you won't put your ticket in for that one, but somebody else will. And sometimes people will they just put their ticket in whatever has the least number of tickets to try to have the best chance to win. So it's all
Well,
whatever, you just do what you
yeah.
want to do and enjoy it.
Sounds good. Now, since you mentioned it, who's your special guest list for this upcoming year? September.
Oh, you gotta put me in the spot, make sure I don't miss anybody. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have we're gonna have Tenkar. He's been there every year.
Hmm.
We're gonna have Jeff Talanian, who's been there almost every year.
Hmm.
So Jeff Talanian of North Moon Adventures. We're
Right.
gonna have Tim Callahan, who's a writer for DCC and Goodman Games.
Hmm.
We're gonna have Brian Shutter from the Neon Lords of the Toxic Wasteland.
Okay.
We're gonna have Levi Combs of Planet X Games. We're gonna have Joe Block
Hmm.
from BRW Games, and we're gonna have Ian McGarty of Silver Boulette.
Okay.
We're probably going to expand next year. I think we're going to expand by adding 1 or 2 more special guests. My goal is to get to about, I think 10 is a good number. I like that 10-to-1 ratio. So 10, like 10 special guests probably next year or the year after. We'll work up to 10, but right now we're at 7, and I think it's a good number for the
Right.
6th year. And then I have plans for the 10th year to do something wild with special guests, but
Cool.
we've got a few years before we get there. So
Yeah. Yeah. Now, one thing I was mentioning in the very beginning was that my real big push for small conventions. I absolutely love them, and I think it's important. And your convention is a perfect reflection of this. I think it's important for you as an individual gamer to create your own circuit of conventions. So conventions within your comfort level region, slash mine is roughly, if it's within 4 hours, it can definitely be something that will be a convention that I go to every single year. And I was just going to pump up. So my personal one is this. So Philadelphia, and these are in order of month of the year. All right. So Philadelphia Area Game Expo, which I know you've been to as well. I
Yep.
mean, it's a phenomenal, actually last year was its first year.
Yep.
And so what a launch that was for that one. And so that's in January in obviously Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. That's a great convention to go to. Rising Phoenix Game Con, all right, which is in April in Massachusetts. And, and I was first introduced to that convention from ShireCon. So
Yep.
that's where I met Scott for the first time in person, even though Scott actually played in my D&D campaign probably about 6 months to 10 months or so before ShireCon. So it was like so it was my first opportunity to meet him there. And Rising Phoenix is a great convention as well, slightly larger than yours. All right, and just a year or so. Actually, they're probably contemporaries. I believe that they might be going into their fourth year or whatever. I don't know if you count the.
I think his first year was going to be the COVID year, so I think he's
Okay.
a year or 2 behind me, but he
Yes.
probably gets closer to 500 people, I believe, 300 to 500
Like
people.
three to four.
Yeah. So he's a little bit bigger than me.
3 to 4. Then AutoCon is a tiny one in my hometown, actually. So that's in June in New York, obviously, and that is that's about 50 or 60 people now. And that grew
That's
from
pretty
like
good.
about 30 or 40. So, it's like one of those tiny cons where, you can just focus on, gaming and then finally ShireCon, which comes for me in September. So I don't have anything from, from September on until January, kind of thinking about finding something in the Octoberish range. All right. But the point of having a circuit, I think, is because we see many of the same faces now in these
Mhm.
these kind of regional areas now,
Yeah,
and that becomes a whole, like a convention circuit family as well. And
agreed.
so it's a lot of fun to start saying, hey, I know this person. And it's equally fun to look at the roster of people attending your game and say, oh, but I don't know this person. This person
Right.
has played with me a number of times, but this is a new face, a new person. It's going to be so much fun to just meet new people. And you
Sure.
really get that sense, I think, from small conventions that you're not going to get at a Gary Con or a Gen Con or any of those much, much larger cons. You kind of get lost in the soup, as it is, there. And so, what's your take on that?
Yeah, I agree. I think when you are going to the same cons every year and you see the same people and they recognize you and you recognize them, you sort of gravitate to, um, to hanging with them after gaming or in between or breakfast or
Hmm.
whatever. I like a mix of size cons. I like the small con, obviously,
Hmm.
and I'm trying to keep mine somewhat small for as long as I can before I have to make a decision on what I want to do next. But there's some great cons, and there are some bigger cons that I don't mind going to. Like I like Total Con in February. That's a great
Hmm.
con. That has a special meaning to me because my very first convention in 1984 was Mass Confusion, which is sort
Hmm.
of the founding blocks of
Oh,
TotalCon. So
right.
when I started going back to cons, TotalCon was one of the first that I went back to.
Hmm.
It's bigger. It's probably a couple thousand people, maybe,
Wow.
um, but it's a great con. It's in the same area as Rising Phoenix, so it's
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
It's
same
it's
location, so it's easy to drive to, etc.
yeah.
I love North Texas. I go there almost every year. I think I've been there at
Hmm.
least 10 years total, 9 years, 10 years. I
Wow.
love that. I love that convention. I donate a lot of work to that convention. I write for them.
Hmm.
I give my work freely to them because I just love their convention so much. Um, and almost every year, Mike Battalato and I and others produce something exclusive just for that con that I love
All
doing,
right.
usually in the BX vein. So
Hmm.
I just enjoy that con. This year I was supposed to go to Arcane Con in October, which I think is in your neck of the woods. It's in New York.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, so I was signed up to go and I was going to run games, and then it fell on a weekend that I'm actually a volunteer fireman, and
Right.
into my second fire school. I've put it off for 5 years, but I've got to eventually do it. So I decided to sign up for it. And that weekend then fell on a weekend that I have to go to fire school. So I had to back out, but I really wanted to go. It looked really cool. A lot of great GMs and great games there. It's called Arcane Con, I believe. Um,
And when is it?
and I think it's in October. I believe it's in October.
I have a
I don't know
wedding
the
in
exact date.
October, so it's gonna be a
Probably that
tight one.
weekend. That's how it usually works, right?
Yeah, of course,
But
it's
anyway,
gonna be that weekend. Yeah.
but it looked to be like it was going to be a great con, and I was excited to go and run some games. But I'll try for next year. But other than that, I haven't been to Rising Phoenix yet, and only because every single weekend that Scott ran Rising Phoenix, I had required fire school. It's
Right.
called Live Burn, where we have to go and
Yeah.
do fire simulation. It always was the same weekend. Now they moved it to
Hmm.
September or October, I believe. Live Burn is now. So that frees up
Hmm.
my April. So there's a good chance I'm going to be going in 2025, which is good.
Okay, good. That's great. Yes, I'll certainly see you there. I know last year I ran 5 game sessions there,
Mm.
5 different systems, which was brutal. I will
Yeah,
never,
I've done that before.
ever make that mistake again. Um, but yeah, that's a great convention. I
Yep.
absolutely love it. It's a great location, great people, great events, and just such a huge variety of games, which is another reason why I like these, smaller to, and I consider anything under, anything under 500 is what I consider small, and so, you know, these smaller conventions, when you go there, I think you see a much larger variety of game systems being run than you see
Mhm.
at the bigger cons. Because the bigger cons, they want to draw the most people that they possibly
Right.
can, and so they're
Yep.
going to focus on the most, the most popular games that are out there. I mean, sure, in the total, there's probably more variety of game sessions that you can attend to, but a bulk
Mhm.
of them are, still tied to whether it's 5e or, its next closest,
Mhm.
popularity competitor.
Right.
But I know
Like
looking at your
Pathfinder.
con, going through your con, and I was, I will bring this up. Actually, I will share this so that everyone can kind of get a little quick view of ShireCon. So here we are. This is ShireCon. So as Thom already mentioned, it's from September 27th to the 28th. The hours are actually Friday, September 27th from 12:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. and then Saturday from 8:30 a.m. to 9 p.m. So it's roughly a day and a half. All right. A day and a half. If you eat lunch beforehand, then you can go right on Friday and just go right into gaming, right, and not worry about
Right.
anything in between. But and then taking a look at so if I just go to the event schedule, so there are a total of, now I think that this 48 still includes the two events that were canceled.
Yep. Yep. But
So,
I think I have one more, another one coming. So
okay,
I think somebody has asked for a last minute
oh,
addition. So
cool.
we're still working out the timing on that. But
Yeah. So
I
there's,
think it's gonna be about 46 to 47, really.
yeah, so there'll be a number of events, and then probably over, 46 or so.
Mhm.
And there's usually opportunities too, like if a game breaks up earlier or whatever, that you probably have a empty table here or there that anybody can throw down and
Mhm.
throw together a quick game as well. If anyone suddenly has a gap in their schedule or whatnot. um, I know the one thing that I did with ShireCon this year was that I made sure that I had enough, more seats to the table, because some of the
Mhm.
game systems that I'm running, are, just more open to 5 or 6 players, as opposed to, 4 or 5 on, on the larger side. So,
Yeah.
so just more opportunities for more people to play,
Sure.
which is another thing. Now, looking through here, I mean, you have a great variety of game systems here. Some of them are very obvious. Like, unfortunately, the Star Frontiers is the one that got canceled.
Yeah.
Um,
Sadly.
yeah. So, but we have the Smurfs, which I don't think I've played in this one before, but you have an AD&D second edition. You have Mongoose Traveler. You have, and there's everyone. There is plenty of room for all of these games. Like all of these games that you see here, sessions that you see with the Get, they still have openings in them. All right,
Mhm.
so jump in on some of them. I was really pissed, I have to say, Thom, that you decided to run a game that I'm already running something at the same time. I was like, damn, I
Ah,
wanted to play
sorry.
one of Tom's games, but I got into your throwdown event on the
Oh,
last
good.
day
Yeah.
in the last session. So I was like, all right,
Oh, yeah.
at least I will get that and I'll have the opportunity. But yeah, there's a number of different game systems here, including games for kids and MTG. And, you're going to get a large variety. There are board games, there are card games, there are RPGs, and a very, very good mix of games that, and like I said, plenty of opportunities still,
Yep.
to pick up a badge and to fully fill in your schedule
Yep.
for for ShireCon. So really looking forward to that. Like I said, it's my go-to. Every year now, it's part of my circuit. Plus you're 45 minutes away, so it doesn't
Works out
hurt.
well.
It certainly doesn't hurt that you're only like 45 or 50 minutes away, or
It's pretty
whatever.
good.
Very scenic rural route to get there too. So no highways, no anything. And
Oh,
it's
Route
like
22, maybe.
yeah, Route 22. It's
Sure.
44 to 22 is like the entire hop, skip, and not even a jump involved. So
Yeah, right.
and the VFA I'm sure is a very good sized venue.
Yep.
So is that going to be, that's not a split level venue? I'm assuming it's all one.
Yeah, it's one main floor, and there's going
Mhm.
to be some vendors upstairs, some vendors in the smaller room downstairs where we're going to have
Okay.
some open gaming. So it's not optimal for vending space, but we're
Right.
making it work. We've got a good layout figured out.
Okay.
Some of our vendors will be upstairs, some will be downstairs. But all the scheduled gaming will be upstairs, except for we now have a miniatures game that's scheduled to be downstairs because they need more space and they came in sort of last minute into a slot
Okay.
that was already full. So, and he was fine with it. I explained to him that you're going to be in a different space, and he was okay with that. So, um, yeah, I mean it's a bigger venue, I think, square footage wise, believe it or not, than the theater. Theater has some trickiness with accessibility, I think.
Hmm.
Um, we had to bring our own tables, bring our own chairs. The VFW has all their own tables and chairs, makes our life a lot easier.
Right.
We're going to load in Thursday night, show up a little bit later Friday morning and finish setting up will be easy.
Hmm.
It's just an easier venue to work with. It's an
Right.
easier venue to prep and get ready and tear down. They have a lot of food on site. That's a huge deal since last year people really said it was hard getting dinner. And I get that. The venue was, even though we had a lot of restaurants around, and even though they were all told that we were going to have 100 people plus, they didn't seem to be prepared.
Yeah.
The VFW understands what we're doing. They're signed up to give us an incredible menu, which I'll publish very soon,
Hmm.
um, and good prices, of course, and just in a great place. There's a fire pit outside. There's a covered patio. So if you want to play outside or you want to eat outside or just hang outside, there's an
Yeah.
open air outside bar. So you
Hmm.
can, after the games are over, you kind of hang out downstairs. I mean, it's a really
Good venue.
super great place. I think that works. They want to keep hosting it for us for as long as we fit. So
Hmm.
that'll be the interesting point is, when do we outgrow that one? So
Yeah. And
uh,
what is their maximum capacity?
I think they're in the 175 range.
All right. So there's
So
still room to grow.
there's still room. Yep. I think this year was very interesting because this year we had a lot of games submitted, more than any other year in the past. A lot of games submitted with 4 players. We usually
Yeah.
get 6, 8, but we had a lot that were 4, and that's really interesting because that meant that my table layout and the number of tables I needed to have had to increase. So we had to really juggle to try to
Right.
get things to fit. But
Yeah.
it's all we have 14 scheduled tables, and we have a handful of open tables. So I think we'll be fine.
Is that a game system issue with 4 players, or
Could be. Yeah, it
because
could be.
yeah,
It could be.
I
It's
would
really
think,
game
like, I
like
know certain game systems like Blade Runner is set for 4 players. It really does
yeah.
start to break down after 4.
Yeah. Well, I
And
mean, like somebody submitted old Top Secret. You can't play a spy game with 8 players. You just can't do it. It
no,
just,
no, you
just
can't.
doesn't
Yeah,
work, right?
it's
So,
got to be.
so some of these games
Yeah,
definitely need to be 4.
yeah,
Some of the game systems can take more, but I think the GMs just wanted a smaller group, and that's fine. I'm not going to tell
yeah.
people, but what I try to tell my GMs is that if you know we got people showing up and there's no games, make a seat available. Go
Oh
from
yeah,
4 to 5. Try to make a seat available for somebody just so that we can, people can have the best experience they can, and people almost. I've never seen a GM not do that. So I mean, if
Yeah,
you're already at
well,
8, if you're already at
yeah,
a capacity of 8, I don't see a need to try to expand to 9. That seems a little crazy. But most of
right.
the games are 6, 4 to 6 right now. I only have one game I think over 6. I think people are just kind of dialed back down to smaller game, which is fine.
Yeah,
We have the space. It
yeah.
worked out.
Yeah, if you start at, if you start at 5, you're certainly, you have room to add one or two more. I mean, geez, my Weird Frontiers had 6 last year, and 2 kids wanted to join in, and we're like, sure, have a seat, pull up a seat, and you
Yep.
have those longer tables
Hmm.
there. So it was a lot easier,
Yep.
just to accommodate, a couple more people sitting around the corner, so
Sure.
of the table, so it's fine. But
Yep.
yeah, there should always be room to expand, and as a DM or GM, you should kind of account for that too.
Right.
Like I always bring a couple extra pre-gens just
Yep.
in case
Yeah.
anyone would like to just pop in.
Yep. Yeah.
Because that happens. That happens a lot. That
Yeah.
someone will just find, hey, I have this gap. Instead of trying to fill in on something, I'll just walk around and see if anybody can take me in during these
Right.
gaps. And yeah,
Sure.
that's great.
Sure. One of the things I found, we were touching on this a little bit earlier about size of the cons. One of the things that, I mean, I love small cons, of course,
Hmm.
but I do tend to like a larger con, like a Total Con in North Texas, because
Hmm.
it's a great place as a creative to go and meet other creatives and actually work out some deals. Like
Yeah,
I freelance rate for a lot of companies, and sometimes when you bump into them at the bar or at breakfast or even walking by their table or whatever, next thing you know, you're talking about writing something together or doing some work. And so, at a con my size, you probably get less of that because there's less creatives showing up
right.
to there. But when you go to like Total Con,
Yeah,
you'll see a ton of people. Or if I go to North Texas, which is really great for creative
yeah.
work, you'll see a lot of people, and there's always conversation about, hey, let's do this thing together. It's like, all right, let's go.
Yeah.
So I like that. I like the different size cons for that reason, because you tend to do some deals. I also have learned. I did
Hmm.
one North Texas where I ran 7 games,
Yeah.
um, 5 systems like you did, right?
Yeah.
But 7 total games. And I told myself I'd never do that again. So I try to do. I usually go into a con wanting to run 3 games, play in 1 game, and then let the chips fall where they may after that.
Right.
Gives me some time to hang out with people, catch up on with friends. Um, Obviously, with a con my size, only 5 game slots, you want to maximize that experience so people may not
Exactly.
follow. But in a big con where
Yeah.
you're playing for 4 days, I like to spread it out a little bit, meet
Yeah.
people, hang out.
Yeah. Yeah. I personally like to run one a day, play
Hmm.
in one a day, and not run more than 3 systems.
Hmm.
And usually 2. So
Right.
that's kind of what I'm looking at, through Philadelphia area,
Hmm.
is that I think I'm running Shadow Dark 3 times,
Hmm.
and 2 of your games, by the way. So
Excellent. I love it.
I'm not running one of your adventures at your con. I don't need that pressure. And it's like, no, I'm not doing that.
I'll have to
But
walk by
but
your table
yeah,
constantly and look
but I
in.
am running the Slumbering City, all right, which is
Excellent.
yours. I'll hold it up here, and
Yep.
this is contested, all right. The first time I ran this was at Rising Phoenix, and then I ran it at AutoCon. I'm skipping running it at yours, all right, and then I'll be at Philadelphia running this. But
Sure.
people actually absolutely love this. Especially like after the first con, they were like, "Wow, this is like such old school dungeon crawl,
Yep.
perfect for a convention game."
Yeah. I
Because
play test. I play tested that at Page.
yeah, yeah. So it
Yep.
was
Last
it
year.
was like, yeah, and as any game session that you're running at a convention goes, it doesn't matter the rule system, whatever. You have to modify it on the fly to
Hmm.
match what's going on at the table.
Yep.
And that is a really, really important thing to bear in mind is like, there's no way that you should try to run everything rules as written or as the adventure is written. Everything you got to get a sense of where the players are at, and they're coming from a totally unknown space that it's like,
Right.
and just modify. And and Slumbering City, 3 different times I've ran it, 3 different outcomes.
Excellent.
And so that's and I have that experience with like the games that I've written and run too. Like my
Mhm.
Gangbusters game, which I'm running at your convention,
Mhm.
is I've run that about 5 times now, and I've had 5 different outcomes. Essentially,
Fantastic.
and it's just sometimes the same kind of steps that they've gone through, but then they just end up with a slightly different result at the end. And a War in the Valley, I'll be running for the first time
Mhm.
at Page,
Okay.
so that'll be a lot of fun. I'm sure that will have to be you know just see how it plays out and everything. I'm actually converting that to my own Shadow Dark campaign right now, where they're getting a kind of a similar
Okay.
storyline, but it's
Cool.
different map and but same kind of premise going on.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's so much fun to run games at conventions, and so that's another thing I want to put out to my audience, and to anybody that watches this later on. Um, it's one thing to go to a convention and play in a whole number of games, and I strongly recommend that you do that. But if you're a game master or looking to become a game master, find a very easy system that you're super comfortable with, and just run it at a convention, and run it as loose as you need to run it. And you're going to see that everyone is still going to have fun at the table, and your enjoyment for that game system is going to be, you know, um, super enhanced,
Mhm.
based on that, just that one experience. And you're going to see that it's a different skill set, I would say, running at a convention compared to running a home game, or even at a local gaming shop kind of game. Do
Mhm.
you have a similar? Because you run at bigger conventions than I do.
Well, a lot of masters or game masters get really worried about the rules. And the way I look at it is sort of some of the things that Gary Gygax had said, in some of his notes was that, you know, you can solve everything with an ability check or just a simple roll.
Mhm.
Um, and or you can just let stuff happen by, doing that fake rolling behind the screen kind of thing. So,
Yeah.
I never got caught up in worrying about the rules.
Mhm.
Um, uh, that said, I don't like playing in games that have too big of a rule book because I feel like it's unnecessary. However, but I do run games that are smaller rule sets, like
Yeah.
Shadow Dark, like Morkborg, like Five Torches Deep, like BX, etc. So
Mhm.
I tend to run the games that are easiest to run. That way, we can focus on having fun and exploring the story and doing some things, and not page flipping to figure out exactly what the
Right.
required role is for something. Like, I don't get wrapped up in that stuff. It just makes it easier to be a GM. It makes the experience for players to be better. Um, yeah, and it doesn't matter. It's the same. It's the same regardless of the size of the convention, right? You get four to six players at your table at Gen Con. You get 4 to 6 players at
Mhm.
ShireCon. It's the same experience. It really is.
Yeah.
There's no, I mean, you might get different people, but
Yeah.
it's still they're there to have fun and get the most out of their con, and you're trying to provide them with a memorable experience. And
Yeah.
Slumbering City does that. Slumbering City gives you a memorable experience.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like it's a lot of fun to run that game, and I'm sure that the one section of it, and I'm not going to spoil this or anything, but there's one section of it where it's like, wait, is this an illusionary thing? And you'll probably know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
What happens when they go through the illusion? So I've changed that up with what's the effect is. Like
Yeah.
there's the one like the big MacGuffin item that they're supposed to get, as the big
Right.
thing. And I have that not able to rise up above the
Hmm.
illusion. It's like you can't escape with this thing, because to me, it's a Conan story,
Right.
and Robert E. Howard Conan stories, you never get the big prize. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Conan always misses out. Yep.
yeah, you're just not meant to get the whole thing. Everything collapses in on itself, and you're ended up standing there with the girl across your shoulder, and enough coins to buy your next beer, and that's basically it.
Right.
It's like, and and they didn't take it as a letdown at all. It
Right.
became like the perfect, very Robert E. Howard conclusion of an adventure,
Mhm.
and that's what the Slumbering City really does build itself. You certainly capture that whole feel with this
Mhm.
adventure. So
That's
absolutely
right.
love
I
it.
tried
Big
my
fan of
best. Yeah.
it.
Well, I'm
And,
also I'm also one of the I'm the kind of author that enjoys to hear how people have changed the story. Like
mhm,
I don't, if you run it word for word, that's great. But if you change a bunch of things or whatever, I think that's also great. And I actually
yeah,
like to hear from people about what they did differently because it
mhm,
always sparks ideas or makes me think about things. So I'm not one that's like, oh,
yeah.
you change that. Like I don't care. Run the game and enjoy it. And if you want something and you do something better, that's great too.
Now, when will a War in the Valley be available on drive through as a PDF?
Pretty soon
Pretty
when I
soon.
get to it.
Okay.
I'm trying to. I'm doing a test right now with Lulu print
Mhm.
on demand to see if I can um, drive sales there via that mechanism. It's not proving to be as good as I'd hoped as far as just doing an exclusive drop on there. So the PDF for War in the Valley will definitely be on drive through at some point very soon.
Okay.
Um, I'm just right now obviously hung up on ShireCon stuff, and that's the priority,
Right.
getting
Yeah.
things done there. But I do like Lulu's print on demand. I'll continue to use Lulu for
Mhm.
print on demand and drive through for PDFs. I don't like drive through. They lost their saddle stitch staple books. They took that away, and I don't
Oh,
like
did they? All right.
perfect bound books under 40 pages. I don't like it. You got to
Yeah.
break the spine to make them lay flat, and I don't like that at all. So,
Yeah.
um, I've talked to Drive Through when they came through at Gamehole Con and talked to me. I gave them that very fierce feedback
Yeah.
that removing saddle stitch meant that I no longer would print small books through them.
Right.
Um, but Lulu does a great job. I can use it for Kickstarter drop, so I don't have to mail in my own stuff.
Right.
It works out very well. So I'll continue to use that.
Mhm.
War in the Valley will be there, and some other stuff's going to come out there too. I'm gonna do a 12 level Shadow Dark crawl. That's probably gonna be hardcover on Lulu,
Mhm.
and then I'm gonna do a couple other. I'm gonna do a Morkborg book there. That's gonna be print on demand. That might start off only print on demand. There, we'll see.
Right.
I might try to give that test one more chance to see if it works or not. But yeah, so War of the Valley, you'll see a PDF um, you'll see a PDF there soon
Okay.
and drive. Yep.
Yeah. That'll be great. Yeah. Because that'll be a little bit easier, I think, for me, since I'm running it in January.
Hmm.
So if it is available there, otherwise I'll just have to, run copies of my own and just
Well,
cut and paste
listen,
them and do it that way. Yeah.
listen. You're talking to the author, so if you want a
Yeah.
PDF, I'll send you one. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I know you're gonna run it, so I'll give it.
Yeah.
I'll get you. You have if it's not there for some reason, you'll get a
Yeah.
copy before then. So
Okay, great. Um, so let's see. So we have spoken about small cons. We have spoken about the things that you have upcoming. Big focus is on I obviously ShireCon
mhm.
and getting that. So um, I think you have about what, like 50 badges to go before you hit the max or somewhere close to that.
Well, like I said, I've got about 106 sold. Um, we're on pace for. I think we're on pace for between 125 and 150. We'll fit that pretty
Mhm.
well. I think 175 is going to be the cap. So we'll
Right.
see. Because we're so rural and because we're 1.5 day, I don't think the numbers will go over that until I either change the location to a bigger city or I make it a longer, 2 to 3 days, which that's a that's a that's a challenge for me with volunteer firefighting with my full-time job. I
Right.
think I think when I get closer to retirement and I'm going to be, working maybe half time instead of full time, I think
Right.
then the chances for me to like really expand it and do something different is probably more likely. But for the
Yeah.
foreseeable future, it's going to be 1.5, maybe 2 days.
Yeah.
Um, but it's definitely not going to be in a big hotel in 4 days anytime soon. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's not
I
what it's
think
meant to be.
that's how most of the most of the conventions that I have been attending, including yours, have been kind of like an exponential growth. They'll start with this is just a 1 day con. Like AutoCon is a 1 day con. All right. Once they get to that 100 person level convention, then they could feasibly open it up to a day and a half,
Mhm.
and then once they get, they start pushing that 200 level, very much like yourself. Once you
Mhm.
start pushing the 200 level, now you got to start looking at, potentially 2 full days,
Mhm.
of convention. And so I think it's a normal pace for the evolution of a convention, over time. I'm sure that Rising Phoenix wasn't a Thursday night to Sunday, thing when it began. It was probably, a one, two, then finally 3 day con. And then they
Mhm.
added the Thursday night
Mhm.
kind of exclusive. Same thing with Page, actually. Page wasn't didn't include Thursday last year. It was just Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You
Yeah,
know,
I think they had a guest. They had a guest dinner on Thursday. They had some
yeah,
hangout time, but yeah, the games were really Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So,
yes, and
but
and
Ron,
that's
but Ron has run conventions in the past, so he
yes,
knows what he's
yeah,
doing, and I
yeah,
think he has a goal to make that a pretty big convention.
yes,
I think he wants to double the size of it this year. So he wants to go from a pretty good sized number last year to even bigger this year.
yeah. He was like
So
three or four
I think he's going to
hundred
grow it.
last year. Yeah, I think he's gonna. I think he's gonna probably hit. I believe, because I spoke to him a couple weeks ago to,
Hmm.
maybe even a few months ago, and he said that it was projecting around 600. All right,
That's
and that
good.
was back then. So,
Hmm.
I'm sure that he's added on a lot of special guests,
Hmm.
and some very surprising special guests, So that's going to
Yeah.
certainly drive up those numbers as well.
Sure. Sure.
Now,
I mean, well, Ron knows what he's doing, so
yeah,
he's got a plan, and he'll
yeah,
execute on that plan like he did last year.
yeah. Now, for a small con, I mean, you do have some, fairly well-known game designers. I mean, certainly within our circles,
Sure.
I mean, you have Hyperborea. I mean, you
Right.
have Jeff Talanian. Um, you know, even Joseph Block. I mean, a lot of people I know Avengers Dark and Deep.
Yep. With the
And then
Castle of
you
the
have,
Archmage. Yep.
yeah, you have um, Top Secret, the New World Order.
Yep.
Uh, Jason
James
Elliott.
Carpio.
All
Yep.
right, will be there, and you have Eric Tenkar, who's with Swords and Wizardry Light, and now it's going to be under a new
Yep.
name.
I think he's calling it Blades and Arcana.
Yes, Blades and Arcana. So you have him there as well,
Mhm.
and there's probably a few others that
I
I'm,
mean,
I'm
you
missing.
got Levi from Planet X Games
Oh
who
yeah,
puts out
Levi
fantastic stuff.
Levi Combs, and
Ian's there. Yeah, Ian's
yes,
there with the Silver Boulay work. I mean,
yeah.
it's a you got
So
Joe
yeah,
McGuire
I
from
mean,
Jersey
for a
from
small con, you have a lot of, you have a lot of creators there. You
and
know,
we're lucky to
um,
have a lot of creators in New England. That's really what it comes down to.
yes,
Is all these people are pretty close, and I think
yeah,
that we're fortunate to have a lot of
yeah.
good creatives in this area that want to converge in this little tiny spot. So it works
Yeah.
out great for me. I love it.
So yeah, so I mean, I'm really looking forward to it, obviously, and it'll be a lot of fun seeing some of
Mhm.
the same people, meeting some new people,
Yep.
and hopefully, it will continue to keep on growing, and you know, hopefully not beyond your comfort level before
Yeah.
you're too ready for it, but
Right.
hopefully it does continue to grow, and really looking forward to seeing the new venue.
Hmm.
So that'll be a lot of fun. And yeah, if there's more food, I mean, the last time I didn't have a problem with food either. It was like right across the street, but maybe took longer to get the orders out. And the
Yeah.
first location was that little cafe right next door. I don't think they
Yeah.
were prepared for the crowd at all.
You
Yeah,
know, people who know me know that I'm very I'm a good project manager, and I'm very
yeah,
much I let people know. And I told every year that in every
mhm,
venue we've been at, I've told people, hey, we're getting this many people. These are the open slots that these are the
mhm.
open spaces between blocks that you're likely going to see people, and they always act very surprised.
Yeah,
You can tell them as many times as you want, but they're going to forget or they're not going
yeah,
to plan. So.
yeah. But
But
anyway,
but this was great because the VFW themselves actually have a little a little shack that basically sells all this food. They're known for their brisket. It's
oh
supposed
wow,
to be some of the best around. Um, they have like tons of sides. They have breakfast. They have lunch. They have dinner. So they got tons of food. Um, People, if you can't find something on the menu, then you're super picky
yeah,
because it's got everything you could possibly want from easy
yeah.
stuff to good stuff. So I think it's a good, and all the money goes to the VFW, which is what we want to do. We want to make
Right.
sure that
That's awesome. Yes.
they get a good chunk of money for extending their helping hand out to us in our time of
Mhm.
need when the last venue sort of broke down for us. So
Yeah. All right. That's awesome.
yeah.
Well, any last thing to add, Tom?
Well, if you want to come check out fall in New England and rural Connecticut, ShireCon's a good place to come. We got with the Appalachian Trails here. We got a brewery down the road. It's a great weekend away. I think it's not just about coming in gaming. It's about coming out and hanging with friends. Um, and I think it's a great little convention if you're not big on the masses. You're not going to get that here.
Mm,
It's quaint. It's intimate, and we've got some really good guests and great GMs that run fantastic games. So
yeah.
come on out, day and a half, not that expensive.
Yeah. By the way, Takata was actually going, so it's good. He's actually playing in one of my games,
Oh,
and
okay, great.
so he will be there. And I think he's in the same game that Jeff Talanian is running. That
Oh,
I'll be
good.
in as well. So
Yeah,
and this is
Hyperborea is
my
great.
first time meeting Ducato in person. So
Mhm.
again, it's someone who's been on my channel for many times. Many times he's been on my
Mhm.
channel, and so an internet friend that we're finally going to be meeting in person
That's
as
great.
well. So and it is his first con, so he's kind of he's kind of following in my footsteps, right? My first con
Excellent.
was ShireCon as well, and so that's going to be awesome as well. And he's coming all the way from, I want to say, gosh, is it Vermont? Um,
Wow.
I'm not
We
sure
get
if
a
it's
we get a few
Vermont.
Vermonters down.
He's either from, I think he's from Vermont.
Okay,
Correct me if
great.
I'm wrong, Ducato. Um,
Ah,
or maybe it's New Hampshire. I'm not sure. Um,
he looks like he says Vermont. So
no, no, he was saying yes, I am. I'm coming from
oh
Maine. All right, so that's
oh
even
Maine.
further. All right, so
That's
he's
even
coming from
further. Okay,
Maine. Right.
excellent.
I have another friend. One of my gamers is from Maine as well. He should hitch along.
Well,
And show up as well.
make sure when you're there you introduce yourself. So I like to meet people that I haven't seen before.
Yeah.
What the other thing I wanted to say is that this year, so my kids are all three of my children will be there. And they volunteer
Mhm.
every year. And this year they've pushed me to be less involved in running the day
Right.
and actually running an extra game because they know I like to
Right.
run games. So that's why I got a second game in there this weekend and that
Yes.
weekend. but they're going to be taking over a lot more of the operations
Yeah.
during the con, so I can get out and see people and be more present instead of trying to solve problems or fix things. So I got a great bunch of volunteers, 3 of which are my children, and they love what we're doing, and it's just it makes it great when you have that kind of support. So
Yep. And he is looking forward to meeting both of us as well. So
excellent.
that's
That'll
going
be
to be
fun to
awesome.
meet. I always
Yeah.
like meeting new people. So
Yeah. We'll have a few beers together, and and the brisket. I mean, how can you pass a brisket? You
it's
cannot pass
supposed
a
to be very
brisket.
good.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, Thom, for coming on. I really appreciate the opportunity to showcase ShireCon. I will be there. Takata will be there. Thom will be there. So if any of you have the Friday and Saturday, September 27th and 28th, 2024, open on your calendar, and you are somewhat local, my limit is 4 hours, but if you're somewhat local, and I'm sure that there's probably lodging and everything within the local general area as well. So if you
Mhm.
do have to do an overnight stay, there's those kinds of things as well. But yeah, really, really looking forward to running games and meeting people and just having a great weekend. Friday and Saturday weekend of just tabletop role playing and other games as well. If
Of
you want to
course,
play
of course.
card games and board games and such, that will be there as well. And one war game. What's the war game that's being run?
Well, there's a couple of miniature games. They're actually doing one. There's a Middle Earth one, and then there's another one called Ragtag Defenders, which seems like a military one. So I'm not sure
Okay.
the details exactly. We also have Dungeons of Hope is a charity organization that's coming in and running Hero Quest.
Oh, okay.
Um, so they're going to be looking for donations. We're going to figure out how to do that
Mm,
for them. ShireCon's going to make a donation to their charity. They house the homeless, including veterans as well. So it fits
mhm.
nicely with the VFW
Right.
tie-in. But they're coming in to run 2 sessions of Hero Quest, which is great. So it's Hero Quest is one of those fun board games that feels
Right.
like a role playing game. So
Yep. It's part of the mystique of the hobby,
of course,
especially old school hobby. Yeah. All
yes,
right. All right. Thanks a lot, Thom, for coming in. And everyone, thanks for joining. And again, if you get a chance to head out to Connecticut in September, it's a great time of the year, too. I mean, the weather should be phenomenal,
Mhm.
perfect fall weather. And, as always, everyone, thanks for joining and have a great day.